right, I'm going to go through the NoRedInk lessons in order as they'll be presented to you in the practices. The topics jump around a bit, but since you'll be addressing those topics in this order, I'm sticking with NoRedInk's organization. All right, so for the first slide here, remember, a clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb, and a phrase is a group of words without that subject-verb element. The first type of phrase we're going to look at today is the prepositional phrase. These always begin with a preposition and end with a noun or pronoun that is its object. In between, you may have any number of adjectives describing that object. Now, bottom of this slide, here's a short list of prepositions. There's a lot more of them. My fifth grade teacher taught me that a preposition is any when or where a mouse could go. Under a table, through the tunnel, beside the tree, before the fire, during dinner. Prepositional phrases often act as adverbs, that is, they modify verbs answering the questions when, where, or how. So, Lucy and her cousin jumped on the bed. On the bed, preposition, on is preposition, bed is its object, the is an adjective describing bed. The whole thing acts as an adverb telling when or where Lucy and her cousin jumped. All right, prepositional phrases on slide 2 can also modify nouns. Adjectives answer the questions which one, what kind of, and how much or many. Lucy's backpack is on the bed. The backpack, which backpack? The backpack on the bed. Slide 3. Next type of phrase we're going to look at is a positive phrase. Now, you're not going to hit these a whole lot, but you need to be familiar with them. A positive, A-P-P, a positive identifies or renames the noun right before or after it. So, my dog, Snoopy, has a long tail. Snoopy and my dog are the same thing. It just identifies or renames my dog. Surround an appositive or an appositive phrase with commas when it is not essential information. If only have the one dog, I don't need to name him Snoopy. It's not essential, so I put it in commas. It's extra information. But when appositives are essential information, no commas. Look down here. My cousin Janet is funnier than my cousin Lou. I can't just say my cousin is funnier. You need to know which cousin, because I got more than one. I only had the one dog, so you could assume which dog it was. Non-essential, commas. Jan, I have several cousins. Essential, no commas. All right, slide 4. Sometimes appositives come before the noun they rename. This one down at the bottom. A former World Cup finalist, my soccer coach makes us run a lot. Now, these are the same things again. My soccer coach and a World Cup finalist, former World Cup finalist, same thing. Renaming, identifying. This time it comes before, but most of the time they come after. All right, slide 5. Next type of phrase, participial phrase. A participial phrase usually comes immediately before or after the noun or verb it modifies. Sitting on the ground. Kyle walked up to his friend sitting on the ground. And sitting on the ground describes his friend. Which friend? The friend sitting on the ground. This one comes right before. Craving another popsicle, Carlos went to the ice cream truck. Craving another popsicle describes Carlos. Which Carlos? The Carlos craving another popsicle. All right, slide 6. Preposition shows the relationships between a noun, that's its object, on the bed, and other words in the sentence. In this case, jumped. Lucy and your cousin jumped on the bed. What's the relationship between jumped and bed? It was on the bed. In other words, it answers the questions that adjectives and adverbs answer. Prepositional phrases can come at the beginning, at the middle, at the end of the sentence. Matt put his backpack under his desk. There it is at the end. After lunch, at the beginning, Carrie and I went salsa dancing. They don't give an example of in the middle, but it can be in the middle too. Here's some where prepositions. Here's some when prepositions. All right, the next slide, the next lesson is about relative clauses. And remember, clauses have a subject and a verb. Dependent clauses don't stand on their own. They don't make a complete thought. Independent do. This type of clause, it an adjective clause modifies nouns and pronouns and answers again the questions: which one, what kind of, or how much, or many. They always begin with a relative pronoun or a relative adjective, and you've got a list of those down here at the bottom. It's basically who, whom, whose, which, and what, which, what, and that, I'm sorry. And then they add why and when and where. Those are the adjectives. But anyway, I remember the moment when Lucy adopted her first cat. When Lucy adopted her first cat, Lucy adopted, it's got a subject and a verb, so it's a clause, begins with a relative adverb, when, and it describes moment. Which moment? The moment when Lucy adopted her first cat. All right, slide 8. NoRedInk then returns to participial phrases, which, again, begin with participles, which are words that look like verbs but act like adjectives or adverbs. Present participles end in ing, past participles end in ed, unless the past form of the verb it comes from is irregular. And here's a list of participles: singing, eating, reading, learning, those are present. Impressed, frustrated, ending in ed, and we've got 2 irregular: lost and broken. So be aware that the ACT loves questions that put a participial phrase away from whatever it's describing, so it's a misplaced modifier. So, but these are done correctly. Jameson picked at the gum, stuck to the bottom of his shoe. That's a past participle. It's the past form of stick, to the bottom of his shoe. It describes the gum. Which gum? The gum stuck to the bottom of his shoe. All right, identifying words modified by a positive. NoRedInk then returns again to a positives, reminding you that they identify or rename another noun or pronoun, and they sometimes come right before, but more often right after the noun they name. And then the last one I'm going to do in this set, it then reminds you that positives are set off by commas when they are not essential to understand the sentence, but they are not set off by commas when they are essential to understand the sentence. We've already covered that. So that's all for this one. I'll give you some more on the lesson 2.